Hey YouTube, I just kind of want to make a video talking about many things. And as a 16-year-old currently living in America and as a Texan, I support the Republican Party. I do not consider myself as a Republican, but as a conservative, because that's just how I perceive myself. I don't really um, there's a reason why I don't really call myself a Republican, because there are rhinos in the Republican Party that I just don't really like. But um, honestly, when I see how the current state of the world is, and I mean, I used to get really angry at these people and argue with these people, but I realize when you argue with these people, you're not really getting anywhere. Um, so after having a little bit of resurgence in my, Christian faith, I had to realize if you speak nicely to these people, it's a different story, right? And I see these people protesting, and I see all this, and it's crazy because when you first become a Christian, when you first look at the Bible, when you actually start understanding things, you realize you see the world differently than how they do. They see as technology and science is fully trustworthy. They just trust anything. I mean, literally, if someone just randomly gave them a drink, they would believe that they would have the trust that that person didn't maybe poison it or didn't maybe spike it. And I think that's the big problem with a lot of the world, They don't have a common sense of to question things. I mean, they don't question anything at all and just take it all as it is and just trust that it's the right thing and just trust it's the right movement. The reason why I trust Christianity and the reason why I for sure trust Trump is, for one, I trust Christianity because I'm going to believe that God's Son, Jesus Christ, died for my sins and took all the punishment that I brutally deserved on the cross. And therefore it opened a way for me to not go to hell. But I'm going to say with full honesty, I would believe in religion any day over biology. And of course, Charles Darwin even wrote, in my theory of evolution, I have never stated and never said once publicly that evolution is to be used to disrespect or to disprove God. As Charles Darwin was a, I can't really, he was an agnostic, but he did have belief in God. And the very interesting thing is, people take evolution and they instantly think, oh, that's the thing that proves God isn't real. No, that's not essentially what it's saying. Evolution is the overtime process of something developing or growing as a person or maybe as an animal. But I am obviously going to have belief in some parts of that, but not all the way. Because as humans, we're far more complex than animals. And I'm not going to sit here and say we developed from chimpanzees. Given chimpanzees, how come they're not developing over time into humans as they are? They're currently an animal species. Why aren't they evolving into a human? Obviously, it does not make sense that a human came from a chimpanzee. Even if a chimpanzee looks like us, they don't act like us, nor do they have the brain skills. Yeah, there's some that do, but that's because they were trained by humans to do that, not trained or just randomly knew how to do that. As humans, we became more civilized. We began to learn. We began to create. We began to develop things because our brains developed. God made it where we developed. We grew. Animals are not the same way. Animals are never going to develop like us because God just didn't make animals that way to develop that way. And yeah, they probably just evolved to a primal stage, but they're never going to go beyond that point. Dogs, we pretty much domesticated them. That's the only thing I can say for that. But, it's such a stupid idea that atheists get that something came from nothing. And the reason why I really believe that there is God or a higher being is because something cannot come from nothing, right? If you're just going to sit here and say, well, the Big Bang happened, okay, what happened before the Big Bang? What was here before the Big Bang? What was here? I have an answer for that. God was here, and he developed the universe, made the universe. I have an answer, but you don't. Why? Because before the universe, people would try to say, well, there's quirks and all this stuff that float around. Okay, but what created that? What made that? What? It didn't just develop on its own. Where'd it come from? Did it come from above or below or side to side? I'm not going to just sit here and just magically believe that, poof, we came out of nowhere, or we developed out of an animal. I'm not going to believe that. Obviously not. And people are going to sit there and say, so you telling me that you believe a Bible that states like a donkey can talk and a snake can talk? Okay, let's first get this out of the way. A donkey that talks in the Bible, the donkey, I meant not a, the donkey that talks in the Bible, along with the snake, are two representative and figurative speech characters. Obviously, the snake represents sin and how sin lures humans into doing interesting things, which is sin is by the devil, so pretty much the devil luring you into doing ludicrous acts against God. The donkey, I have not came up with a theory of that yet. I'm pretty sure someone else has, but I'm pretty sure the donkey is the reasoning. Speaking of the reasoning, and to not be ignorant in your beliefs. It's figurative, not literal. Yeah, obviously we don't have talking donkeys and talking snakes, because that would be really weird. Why is it only those two species that can talk? Don't make no sense. There are some parts of the Bible that, yeah, you can go ahead and just say that was maybe made up. But the particular parts that are not made up is when Jesus was crucified. Because as we look at Roman history, Romans actually did crucify people when they believed that they were, quote, speaking as if they were God, or if they had done a really capital punishment crime. And pretty much saying you're a god or you're some poor form of higher being apparently was something the Romans didn't like. So the Romans crucified Jesus along with two criminals that were known to steal and harass. Obviously, people are still going to sit here and say, well, that's like one thing. But the Bible, it's funny how the Bible speaks of the Romans before we knew what the Romans truly were. Because even back then, when we read the Bible back in the 1800s, people were still learning about European history here in the United States. People even in Europe were still learning about who the Romans and who the Greeks were. And the Bible talked about the Romans. So the Bible does play into our history big time, meaning it was taken by witness accounts that saw the situation happen and saw what went on. Now, moving on to my second part. The reason why I support President Trump is because President Trump is the only president out of American history that's actually done more in 100 days and also done more for this country. Obviously, I'm not going to believe in the left because for many reasons. One, the Democrats is who started the KKK. 2, the Democrats is also the same party that held slaves. 3, Democrats is also still the same party that made the Trail of Tears happen under Andrew Jackson, who was a Democrat president. And they also fought in the Senate back in the 1800s yet again against Republicans who wanted to honestly give blacks the rights to have teachings, to be taught, I meant to say. Sorry, my voice is all over the place. But obviously the left didn't want that because, yeah, we all know. And then you get around the 1950s and 60s, the Southern Democrats who still live down here try to start their crap again, putting up Confederate flags, doing the KKK, burning crosses, which is another reason why I don't like KKK, because, and I don't like it when people associate me with that, because believe me, burning a cross makes me madder than anything. But it makes me also sad to see how they disrespect God. But moving on. The Southern Democrats, who still remained in the South, was still trying to keep the racism going. We're still trying to hate people. We're still trying to hate African American communities and often, other communities. So that's why we had MLK do the peace walk, where he had millions of people gather together and he gave a speech that he had a dream. Obviously, even though the media will tell you that he was in the middle or a third party, the Democrat didn't like that. So he killed MLK because, yeah, Democrats are going to do what Democrats are going to do. And honestly, after that, a few more back and forth, a few more altercations, a few more court cases, finally, things seem to level out. And sadly, the police has been beaten down ever since 2015. And for some reason, when people see the body cam of someone getting snappy with a cop and then reaching for something, which a cop's ideal training is to actually pull their gun on someone who is reaching for something, regardless of what it is, people are going to get very mad. People are going to get very angry. People are going to start protesting. And that's because they're only seeing 5 minutes of the clip. They're not seeing the full clip where the person actually gets violent with the police officer. Like how I pretty much studied in my law enforcement class during the section of where you look at the LA riots, right? The news media only showed 5 minutes of the cops beating down that guy. Now, you probably ask yourself, why were they beating down this guy? And someone's going to say, oh, because they're racist. Now, let me hold you on that. The reason why they were beating the guy down was because he had gotten violent with the cops. He got into an altercation, and they tased him, and he did nothing. So the training, and it did nothing. So the training is, back in the 80s, and it's still used today, when the tasing don't work, when the verbal don't work, I mean, they could have just shot him. They could have shot him right there. Killed him. Because by that point, the court said, okay, you've tried everything. Go ahead. Green light. That's your training. But the cops didn't do that. So instead, they used their batons. And they used them in the correct places. You're not really supposed to hit somebody in the crotch or in the head with the baton. So they mostly used it on the shoulder and the leg to take down the person. Obviously, the individual who was in this situation said that they didn't want the cops, they didn't want the people to get violent, they didn't want the cops to get, hurt or nothing, because he did something wrong, and he admitted it. People still got violent. Now, the part where I do understand why people got violent was when this young black girl went into a store. Let me remind you, we're still talking about Los Angeles in the 1980s here. Little Asian girl goes into a store, and not little Asian girl, little African American girl. She goes into a store, and she goes to buy some orange juice. So upon getting the orange juice, said orange juice, and putting it in her pocket, she goes to turn to pay for it. Now at this time, this was in a place called, I think, Little Korea. I might have that wrong. Don't get mad at me. I'm just going off of what I can remember. So she goes to the store counter, which is ran by this kind of older Korean lady. And she thinks that this little African American girl is trying to steal it because she put the orange juice in her pocket. Obviously, we know that she wasn't trying to steal it. We know that she wasn't. But to this lady, she didn't know. Things got violent. Now, I'm not going to say I support what happened here because I think it's entirely wrong. The Asian lady in the store pretty much pulled a gun and shot the little African American girl for trying to, I guess, buy a orange juice. And that really sparked outrage, and the woman was found unguilty, which is ridiculous. I would have fully trialed her guilty, because just because she don't look like a monster, just because a monster don't look like a monster does not mean it's not a monster. But unfortunately, she was let out on a small fine, which is shocking. I recommend you look that up. It's pretty crazy. But my point is that in those situations, taking out the little Korea part of the LA riots, people only see specific minutes that the media wants to show of the footage to spark outrage. Which is why I really do disagree with BLM and all that, because not every cop is racist, obviously. Not every cop is racist, but going and taking that out and destroying police departments and shutting down systems where cities really need it is bad. It's really bad, because while you're over here protesting, there could be someone getting stabbed in a home, there could be a kid getting, violated, and they need to call the cops, and you're over here burning down stuff, and the cops can't get over there. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not looking at the bigger picture, but instead you're getting violent off of 5 minutes of what you've seen. Like how I believe in the case. Obviously, it's sad that George Floyd passed away, and I'm very sorry that it happened, but you have to understand, these cops are going off the training that they have. The cop did not intend to kill George Floyd. The knee tactic has been in training for the longest of times, and obviously a corrupt judge was not looking at the law book, because in the law book it does state you can put your knee on a suspect's neck, but you have to do it a certain way where it's not choking them. Obviously, if you look at cops episodes back in the 1980s, this tactic was mostly used to keep suspects restrained on the ground. And back then, and even still today, African American and white police still do that. It does not matter of race. It does not matter. Race does not come into the equation. And obviously, I'm not saying George Floyd was a big bad guy and he deserved to pass away. I'm not going to say that. That's brutal and that's cruel. I'm saying people went off of what 5 minutes they seen and not the full picture. George Floyd had a history of crime, had a history of doing drugs. What most likely happened and what a lot of suspects do is they take a lot of drugs when the cops are coming, which is typically in pills, and they swallow them. Obviously, not these pills are not supposed to be swallowed half the time, so a lot of stuff kind of comes back up. It starts coming back up in like mucus and all that stuff. And at the time, the cop that did this didn't know it, so George Floyd probably most likely didn't die of lack of oxygen, but most likely died choking on his own vomit, which is a very brutal way to go, and it happens to a lot of people who take drugs or drink alcohol. That's just my theory on it. That's just what I'm saying. And I think it's a crappy thing for both sides because, yeah, George Floyd pretty much choked to death, and the cop was just going by what he was trained, not because he's a racist, but because he was going by what he was trained. And just like the LA riots, people took only what 5 minutes they seen and what the media said and went out and rioted. Obviously, that's not a good thing to do, but rather hold your peace and for the passing of George Floyd, then parade around, hold candles, hold signs, but do not go brutally attacking police and jumping on cop cars, because these are the same men and women that are still trying to do their job to keep people safe. And when you're disrupting like this, they can't go handle a bunch of calls that for people that really do need help. And it's very crucial to remember this. But out of all that, I would, that's why I support Trump, because the Democrats live in bliss. They do not live in reality. And I'm sorry if that offends you, but that's true. They do not want to see their own faults. They don't want to see their own problems. They take media as completely true. Obviously, a Democrat's going to say the same thing about watching Fox News. The difference between that is Fox News is ran by a liberal. Look it up. It's true. It's ran by a liberal, but they still hold more conservative views because it's specifically the people that work in the show that talk like that, not the head director. I watch a few snippets of Fox News when I want to watch important topics, but I'm not inherently watching it just to say, haha, I'm better than you and I watch the news, because that is ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that we even have a fight over between racism, because racism is not prominent right now. Racism is not the biggest deal right now, and you can get mad at me for saying that, but we have so many bigger issues. We have, the war in Ukraine with Russia. We still do have some racism. We have racism going against Jewish kids who are trying to get an education, and we still have so many problems. And I think racism is not the top leading one, because right now African American people can drive cars. You can go and drink from a water fountain. You can still live here and be very successful. Nothing is stopping you. No white man is stopping you. You can go work at a job, but you need that education to go work at that job. Someone's not going to hire you just because you're black. They're going to hire you because of your education. If they hired you just based off your skin color, white or black or Asian or whatever, that's racist. If you think about it, that's racist to the other people that actually have the skills and education to get the job. But if they hire you off of your education, that creates a balance to everybody that's trying to work. And DEI does not follow this. DEI is specifically hiring people based off of race or gender or identity. The reason why we eliminated DEI is because we need more people with specific skills and understandings than people who just got in there because of their skin color. This is not racism. This is just having common sense. And I'm not saying a woman can't fly an airplane, and I'm not saying a man can't cook. I'm just saying we need more people with more education and jobs than we do with skin color and all this crap. I'm not saying, oh, you have to be specifically black to have this job, and you have to be specifically white to have this job. No. What I'm saying is, have the right education, then get the job. That's what I'm saying. obviously, I'm all for getting rid of transgender out of women's sports, getting them out of the bathrooms, getting them out of all this, because women deserve to have their own space. Okay, they deserve to have their own sports. They do not need men in there. I know I'm kind of sounding like a woman when I say this, but we don't need grown dudes that can probably run 40 freaking miles without breaking a sweat, beating these women who, train hard for these sports. The Paris Olympics was an embarrassment to the world, not just because they disfamed and pretty much ridiculed God and Christianity with the Last Supper thing, not just that, but because a transgender man beat a woman. Can you believe that? And he still got the medal. I'm not going to call it a she, it's a he. Got that medal. How nasty is that? This woman trained her whole life to get to this point. To get to that specific point where she's in front of her fans, her family, everybody that believe in her. Even in front of God. And she's up there, she's ready to fight, but here's the issue. She's got to go against somebody that's like twice her size, that's twice her height, and really way stronger than her. So yeah, she's going to lose. And I find that offensive myself. Because I believe women should have fair sports against women, not women against fake women. There's a difference between playing dress up, there's a difference between being what's in reality. I'm sorry, but biology, if you want to break it down to biology, your chromosomes do not add up. Even if you transgenders and change your organs, that means nothing. Your chromosomes are not different. They're the same as they always been, which means you're always going to be a man, you're always going to be a woman. No matter what you change, no matter what word you put over you, you're still going to be a man, you're still going to be a woman. And you can sit here and say, I'm supposed to be a Christian, I'm supposed to be all loving. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I do love these people, and I pray that they one day have an awakening where they kind of start seeing where they've been wrong in their life. But I'm not going to sit around neither and be a fence sitter, because Jesus never was a fence sitter. He just never took sides. Why he never took sides? Because it creates division. It creates an entire division. And I understand that with Jesus, 100% respect. But back then, we didn't have these issues in life. We didn't have, Trump and Biden back then, Nowadays we do, and it's a key issue. But I will say this, too. America needs to be a republic. Why am I saying this? Because republic is where people actually say who they want in the government and who they want working, not the government saying what the government wants in charge. A democracy is putting the government in charge. A republic is people putting what they believe should be, who they believe should be in charge. A democracy works as a two-party system, same as a republic. However, these people are voting for who they want specifically in there. And then when those people get in the government, then they will vote, and they'll have a vote on who they want in there. And 9 times out of 10, they're not picking the right people. I'm not talking about the Trump administration, but I'm talking about other administrations. If we had a republic, which were by constitution a republic, we would be doing a lot more better, in my opinion. Be doing far more better. Because then the media cannot control anything. Because we could just silence them out. When you have a democracy, people believe that democracy is a good thing, right? And so they're going to go along with that lie and live in it and believe in it and whatever. And obviously a democracy is a gateway to socialism, to Marxism, to having these dangerous beliefs like we have now. And obviously it's a gateway to liberalism. And liberalism is the eradication of God. I'm just going to pick up my phone here. And it's the eradication of this, the Holy Bible, which has been, for a long time, has been just taken off the shelf. Has been removed. It's been trying to be banned. Because these people want to ban God from America. And you can't do it. The reason why I support Trump is not because I'm as what people label me as. It is because I'm supporting who I believe is right and who's going to lead us into a better area of life. And I'll admit it, prices have gone down where I live. And I don't live in a real rural area either, before you go to that point. But what I do believe is that many places are price gouging. And it's not Trump's fault that they're doing that, in case you try to, in some way, make it his fault. It's not. Because if Trump wanted to debate all these companies, he would have to start up about 8,000 lawsuits a day to try to get this down. Gas companies that run gas stations, like Chevron, Shell, Sefco, all these places are going to price gouge their gas because, of course, in inflation, they're making more money off the gas. You start bringing prices down, guess what? They're not making as much money. So they got to find a way to keep that up. Supermarkets, H-E-B, Walmart, what you got up there up north, Kroger, all these places, they're obviously going to keep their prices up because they still want to milk as much money out of you as they can. So price gouging is the only way they can do it. Should price gouging be illegal? Yeah, I think 100%. But there's going to be people that are going to fight with that, and we need to get those people out of the government. Honestly, I agree with Trump with taxing the more richer people, the elites, as I believe it. Yeah, I believe that. That's one thing I'll agree with a Democrat on. Yeah, we need to really tax the elites because the elites are making more money than Trump and anybody in this country ever will. He's making double the profits. They're making double the profits of Bill Gates, to give you just a more wider example. And these people are making it through dirty, very dirty ways. Most of the tax money you pay the government, most of the tax money you pay the IRS, the elites take that. They take that and they never give it back. Trump wants to give it back to you, though, because he believes what they did to you is wrong. He believes what they did and what they took from you should be returned, which is a lot of money returned to you. But he can't do it unless he has your help. People, please, 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 if anybody sees this video and you feel and you start understanding by what I'm saying, please make the right decisions in the upcoming elections. Do not let your kids be sucked into a world where God is dang near removed and life becomes hell. Please, 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 I pray in the name of Jesus that whoever sees this video understands. I'm not supporting this person because I blindly follow them. I'm supporting this person because I follow in their values, I follow in what they do, and I agree with what they agree with. But I'm not following them because I blindly just think that they're a good person. I know they're a good person because I've done my research on him. Many of the lawsuits that people try to bring up are not even real. I've tried looking up these, sexual assault cases, and I can't find a single one. The only thing I could find is when that woman tried to lie and say Trump did this to her, when in reality she had already said, oh yeah, I told him to do it, yeah, let's go party in an apartment, whatever. So I don't know. I don't know why people try to go there. I'll look it up. I use third-party sources. Nothing. Purely nothing. Somebody explain that to me? But anyways, just want to make this video and kind of help people understand how we need to better ourselves and get to know Christ, bring God all the way back into America. I'm talking pray as hard as you can. That way this country would be shaken and we're put back into fearing God and loving God, so we can get back into the days where everybody got together to go to church, white, black, whatever, got together to go to church, and then after that, they felt the conviction, they came to Jesus, they came before Jesus and the cross, and repented. If we can get back to that, America will do a lot more better. If we can eliminate the addiction to technology the addiction to pornographic things, which technology really did boost, I feel like we'll have a much more better living situation than anything. I think we really stopped just building so many apartment buildings and subdivisions all over Texas. Kind of a personal thing here, but and let nature kind of grow in its areas and have more people live in the country, live in a more of a life where you're around nature, you're around the silence, and you realize life goes by more slower when you're in reality in a quieter space. If you're in a louder space, you know what time it is every part of the day because you sense the traffic, you feel the traffic, you hear it going, you hear people walking by, and you know what part of the day it is because you recognize when all these things go by. But if we just go out in the country, I recommend everybody do this. Go hiking, go out in the country, go climb a mountain, and sit in the silence for at least 5 minutes. Close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out, do all your exercises, and come to the terms. This world is cruel. This world is mean. This world is going to obviously not like you. But how you treat that and how you handle that determines what our future and our kids will look like tomorrow. Because tomorrow is a new day. Tomorrow, waking up in that sunlight is God's love. When you wake up and that sun is shining on you, it's God's love. And every day is a new day. Start over. Do something new. Do something different every day. And the more you do that, the more you have happiness. Because you cannot have happiness without having something to live for every day. You know, I once told my friend who was he was depressed, and I told him, I said, let me answer this. If every day I woke up and I just stayed in bed all day, who's gonna take my spot? Who's gonna go to school for me? Who's gonna go be the support for my friends? Who's gonna go be the support for you? Who's gonna be the support for my family? Who's gonna go up to God and talk to God all day? No one. No one. It's only me. No one's gonna fill in your place. No one's gonna take your job. And your most important job in life is being there for the people that need you. I don't care if my friends sometimes get annoyed that I talk about God. Because I know in reality, after a while, they like it. They start trying to talk to me more about God. And I'm always there to help them understand. Because that is my job in my friend group. To be the guy that's the conservative guy, the funny guy, the guy that gets political, the guy that gets religious. But at the end of the day, I know I'm planting a seed inside their head that one day they're going to come back and look at, and it's going to be something beautiful that they can rely on. Because at least I'm there listening to the problems. If I never get up, if I never, whatever, and they tell me this, when I'm not at school, it's boring. And I know there's a lot of people that don't have a life like that. And let me tell you something. I don't care if you're poor. I don't care if you're homeless. I don't care if you're growing up in the hood. Right? There's people that depend on you. And using a gun, using violence isn't going to get you nowhere. All the money in the world isn't going to get you nowhere. Because when you go to God on Judgment Day, that money is going to melt away. And when you go up to God and say, God, I've been a good person. When the angels look in the book, where's your good deeds going to be? What are they going to be? They won't exist. Which is why you put your belief in God, talk to your friends, and smile every day that you're alive. You're here. You're breathing. Even if you're the most depressed person in the world, and you think no one cares about you, you think maybe the world gave up on you and turned their backs on you, God didn't. And every day, He's just waiting for you to come to Him. But you have to make that path on your own. You can't. It's got to be on your own. Which is why I want a lot of you to realize, just by hating someone who wears a Trump hat, by hating someone who has Christian values, you're not going to get nowhere in the world. Protesting, burning things, they're not making nothing better. You're just making people not like you more and more. And you're not standing up for the right thing either, which is why people don't like you genuinely. If you wake up every day, instead of being so mad, instead of automatically going to Facebook, instead of automatically going to social media, try just getting up and eating breakfast. Don't look at your phone. Don't look at the computer. Don't look at the TV. Just go eat breakfast. Maybe actually pray. Try to pray. Even if you don't believe, just pray. Just pray. Get up. Get your car keys. Get your truck keys. Or, if you have a bicycle, go drive somewhere. Don't listen to the radio. Don't listen to the news. Go to school. Or if if you're outside of school, because I know summer's coming up for everybody, go out into the country. Go to the countryside. Go somewhere peaceful. Sit down and just really take in the world. Maybe go to a coffee place and just interact with the people there. Talk to them. Don't bring up politics. Don't bring up religion yet. But just talk to people. Get to know them, know their life story, know who they are. Make friends with these people. Meet up with them every single time you go. And then later in that point, it won't matter if they're Trump supporters or, whatever. Because you've already trust them and you know that they'll have your back wherever and whenever. You have a broken tire, if someone's beating up on you, they're there and they're going to help you. That's why it's important to leave politics last, to have religion be brought up in the middle, but be friends at first. Do not bring up politics and go in the reverse order, because the final peace will not come in. If you bring up politics and start shouting about religion first, you eliminate the friendship. The way Jesus really got a lot of people to come with him and believe him wasn't just because of the miracle works that he did, but because he talked to people. Talk, and understood them and learned about them. Of course, he already knew about them from God, but he just talked. He did work, but he also talked to people and just understood. Really, really, really understood them. Because when you understand people, you have more and more and more and more of a chance of you agreeing on something. Yeah, you don't agree on maybe religion or politics, but you'll agree on something, at least at the end of the day. That's why it's really important, really, really, really important, we develop friendships first and we talk about politics last. You want a united world? Don't bring up race. Don't bring up politics first. Just talk. And you'll become friends. I've made more friends in my life just because I grew up the courage to go talk to them. And I didn't bring up politics at the start. I just talked about random things. Talked about cars. Talked about tornadoes. Talked about all that stuff. And we just hit it off. I mean, that's how it is. I'm not proud of it, but I've been through 3 relationships with girls. You just have to work up the courage, man. Work up the courage. Talk to people. Understand people. And they'll understand you back and they'll trust you back. And then next thing you know, you have this whole entire friend group. And when you start introducing friends that you know to other friends that you want them to know, guess what? You're starting to create a whole massive group of people that now know each other. And they're not talking about politics. They're not talking about religion. They're talking amongst each other about things that they agree on. And there's no one fighting, no one stabbing, no one shooting, none of that, getting, crappy on social media. Everybody's getting along. It is not hard to do that, but many people struggle to do that because instead of starting with the friendship and the religion part, they automatically start with the political part. And you cannot start with the political part because then it eliminates both other parts entirely. You start with politics, you kill the entire system. You start with religion, okay, you're kind of halfway. But maybe don't start with religion. Maybe start trying to understand people, know their stories, and then bring up God. But politics has to come last. Because after all, it's the least of things we should worry about till the next 4 years. Right? So, least thing. But I really want to share this message out to people because it's important that you understand God loves you. Loves you every day. Loves you all times of the day. To give you an example of that, the universe is on an X and Y plane, as you know. Look at the cross. What is something you can tell me about it? It's a T. One going up and down, one going side to side. Meaning, no matter how far you go in each way of this universe, you never escape God's love. Meaning, at any part of this universe, whether you're north, south, east, west, you can have faith in God. You can find repentance in God. You can find comfort in God. Because He knows you so well. So I pray that you have a wonderful tomorrow, wonderful today, and please take my advice because it is important. It is important to your very heart that you understand this world needs more friendships, more families, more kids than it does with violence. And that can start with you. And who knows what it could be tomorrow. Who knows what it could be the next day or the week later. My friends are very important to me because I know they trust me. And never in a million years would I break that trust. Even if it was over politics. Even if it was over religion differences. I don't care. I'm not breaking that trust. Which is why when you get these friends, do not break their trust. If they break your trust, have forgiveness, but know that they need to go. But have that forgiveness. I have strong forgiveness for even when my friends make me upset, when they maybe make me mad or irritate me. I have very strong forgiveness. I'm not just going to immediately say we're not friends no more. Obviously, I'm going to be like, yo, I'm sorry I talked to you that way, but you're kind of annoying me. I'm sorry, but yeah. So please, please, please understand I'm making this video to help many people to understand my outlook of the world and my reasonings of why I support the things that I do. So I pray that you find God, and I pray you have a good day, a good tomorrow. I pray that you find Jesus, because Jesus loves you, but you need to love Jesus, and you need to have faith. I recommend you read the Bible and you study it. You study it like if it's a math test. Maybe not every verse, but study it as hard as you can and come to your conclusion and walk your path with Jesus and get your repentance. Do not wait, because now is better than a time of any other. I love you. Amen.